Boba Fett has pushed the Mandalorian right out of frame and said, "It's my turn now." Are we okay with that? We're going to talk about it. Welcome, everybody, to the Resistance broadcast. I'm not Boba Fett. I'm John. Thank you for joining us today. We have a great show today. We are going to talk about, well, we're going back into Speculation Nation. We did it a few weeks ago, but that's what we like to do around here when there's a lot of front-loaded Star Wars news for things that are way down the line. We're going to have a discussion today about, now that we've heard via those sources out of Lucasfilm that the Book of Boba Fett is serving as sort of a pseudo season 2.5 of The Mandalorian, we're going to speculate on how we feel like that's going to impact The Mandalorian season 3 from a story perspective and beyond for The Mandalorian. So it'll be interesting chat. And doing that with me as always is Lacey and James. So Lacey, we sometimes do this thing on this podcast called Ask the Resistance. And we tweet out, send us your questions. And people do. And this guy called us out because last year he sent us a question and we didn't answer it, apparently. That we don't answer all of them, but he called us out. So good for you, DJ Foster at Rebel Scum Texan. He asked, what is the one land speeder or vehicle, not something that flies in space, that you would own from any era in Star Wars, Lacey?
74Z speeder bike.
Wait, which one's that?
That's the one on Endor that they ride around on.
Oh, the speeder bikes on Endor? Mm-hmm. That's pretty sweet. Would you fly them on Endor, though? That's pretty dangerous.
I think so. I think it'd be fun.
Like fast, or would you take it easy?
Nah, I'd go for it.
I considered the speeder bike, and I was like, there's no way I'd die. I'd just die.
Yeah, I think I would die, too.
My middle name is Danger.
Is it?
No.
Oh.
So now we know she's a liar. No, I'm just kidding.
Lacey and Liam Neeson just lying through their teeth.
John, what's your pick?
I've had a tough one with this. I wanted to lean pod racer, because I think that'd be fun to just be a pod racer. Because I don't like Luke's land speeder, and I don't know that I like the speeder bikes on Endor. I think I'd go with a pod racer and customize it and do a little racing.
You don't like them because you're lame.
Well, hello to you. Happy Thursday, everybody. I love you guys because you guys have such good chemistry. You guys, I can tell you guys love each other on the podcast. That's what they said.
I in both of those scenarios, I considered them both, and I was like, they're just way too fast and too dangerous in both those. So I actually went with Rey's bike from Force Awakens.
Oh, that's a cool option.
Yeah, because I thought it's fat. What on what? What did you say?
It looks like an ice cream bar.
Oh, ice cream bar. I thought you said on Endor. And I'm like, what is he saying? No, yeah, it does kind of look like an ice cream bar. My thought on it was that it clearly goes very fast, but it is not required to go fast, which both pod racers and speeder bikes to me felt like they only had one speed. Just extreme. Yeah. So I was like, man, I want something that can get that fast if I want it to go that fast out in an open field or something. But I also want something that just feels very comfortable and you can throw some stuff in it and kind of just cruise around, but not like Luke's speeder or Han and Kira, that thing that they have at the beginning of Solo. I don't like their Star Wars
I believe it's an M68 speeder.
Yeah. Nice.
What
right?
Nice, this might be cheating a little. The speeder that Dooku uses, the Flipknot in Attack of the Clones, because I feel like it's kind of in Sons of Anarchy when the old man had the trike motorcycle.
Yeah.
I feel like it's kind of like a speeder, but it's safe.
I thought his and Darth Maul's were both kind of two good options, but too Harley for me. Kind of.
Oh, like Chopper. Yeah.
Yeah, Chopper. That's what I mean. And I'm like, I don't know.
They're like, look at that guy compensating for something.
Yeah.
James, when you said it only had one speed extreme, in my head I was like, That explains me. One's extreme. Middle name Danger.
That has to be a line from something, and it makes me think of like Ricky Bobby, like I only know one speed, fast, or something. Yeah.
I'm thinking of
if you're
those
not first,
guys.
you're last.
If you're not off, you're extreme.
Harold and Kumar. And go to White
the
Castle.
Mountain Dew guys.
The extreme guys.
Guys.
Yeah. I feel like they just came from a Devil Wears Prada show and they're all just juiced out of their minds.
Right. That's wrong market.
All right, so we covered that, I guess. Let us know in the comments what yours would be. And you can't cheat. Nothing that flies in space. That was the rule. But more importantly, DJ Foster, better late than never. You called this out, so we answered your question. Hope that satisfies you now. All right, now we're going to get rolling here with the show. And before we get to our discussion, James, what are we firing up to kick this thing off?
I fear nothing, for all this, as the Force wills it.
John, the thing that we're firing up is Will of the Force, but we haven't started it yet. I got to talk a little bit here quickly about Patreon. If you love TRB and want to support what we do, please consider joining us on Patreon. We launched some awesome new updates to the page, benefits, so it's a great time to sign up. Just take a minute, go over to patreon.com/resistance broadcast, pick out a tier that works best for you, and support the show. We really appreciate all the support, everything you guys do. It not only keeps the show going, but it allows us to expand on what we do and continue to plan for the future, which is awesome. So for the three of us, seriously, we really mean it. Thank you for joining our Patreon. Now, if you
dangerously say thank you.
She says dangerously.
Is this going to be a theme this whole episode?
At least till the next segment, sure.
I don't know. We can ask Harrison Ford. I don't care. If
that got a great response. I think people really enjoyed that. So I got to bring that back.
If you are a $5 patron or higher, you can submit questions to the top and topics to the show that we are doing, the segment that we're doing right now to be featured on the show. That's called Will of the Force. So let's get to it. This first one is coming from one of our resistance officers, Commander Danny at Simplify Danny. Follow her on Twitter.
What's up, Danny?
Yeah, Danny wanted to know, do you think we will get spin-off series based on characters or events in the Obi-Wan Kenobi show, similar to the spin-offs that we got coming from Mandalorian? Lacey, I'm starting with you on this one. Spin-offs to Obi-Wan?
Danny, this is very tricky because the spin-offs come from the fact that people like those characters. So if people don't like anybody in this series, you're not getting any spin-offs. I'd really like a spin-off with Han, even though that's not his name. The guy from Fast and the Furious, only because I really like him.
Yeah.
That's where I would be. What do I think they're gonna get? No. I think this is a one and done thing. They won't. But if I was running Lucasfilm, because that tweet was trending for like ever the past week, I would give Han a spin-off series where he's racing land speeders or pod races. Pod racing.
Yeah. That's actually just goes off what we were just talking about, how cool pod racers are and stuff. John, do you think, answer Commander Danny, do you think there's going to be any spin-offs from Obi-Wan?
Yeah, I think they're going to do a Qui-Gon Jinn spin-off Force Ghost series after he appears in that show that he said he's not going to be in.
It's Ghost 2, and it has Patrick Swayze, like the computer animated Patrick Swayze.
Yes. Rest in peace. Ripping out throats on the other side. That's a Roadhouse reference. So yeah, I don't know. It's hard to say, but I like the question because I had never really thought of it that way, because Obi-Wan just feels like this isolated thing, kind of like Lacey was saying. But I don't know that this show is going to give us that level of a character, because it's such a compacted series in 6 episodes, where I feel like a movie, like a major theatrical movie, that's different type of storytelling, like Solo, you're able to sort of do that. But with a series like this, where the central focus is just this serialized version of this short pocket of time in Obi-Wan's life, I don't know that they're going to be like, we're really going to build this character up here. We're really going to put this person in a situation where at the end of that Obi-Wan series, you're going to be like, I want to know that they left that person's story open. Like, I don't think that's how this is going to go. I think it's just going to be really just this nice supporting cast in these environments of whatever Obi-Wan's getting into here for this series. So I don't know that it will merit that, but I'd be happy to be wrong. It'd be great if we get, you know, the Disney Plus version of an Enfys Nest or something where you're like, you know what, not bad. I like this. I like what's going on here. I'd love to see what's going on more, even if they're not the main focus of a story. I'd like to see them again. But I like a spin-off of one of the characters. That's hard for me to make a guess because we don't know them yet. But I love the thought process. I like the question.
Yeah, I would be open to it if we like a character or whatever. It could be kind of interesting to see a character work well with Obi-Wan, and then he's like, come on an adventure with me, and he's like, oh, I'm getting too old for this sort of thing, you know, or something. And you're like, oh, all right, I see what's going on here. They're gonna spin off the show or whatever. Do I think they're gonna do it? No. I think based on what John, not what John was saying, but what John was saying earlier, I've always thought of this show as this was a closed bookend. We're telling this story. This is what it is. And I just never pictured any of these characters being something that, I don't know, we're going to get their story and Ewan's not involved. And I don't know, that's weird. I don't know. It could always happen, but I'm thinking that it's not going to happen. They're going to keep it pretty enclosed on this particular project. Our next question is, will something specific happen to Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Kenobi series that rapidly advances his aged appearance? So, John, this is bouncing back to you first. What do you think?
I almost feel like at this point something has to, because like Ewan McGregor looks really good for his age, and if he really looks in the series how he looks in that interview he did with Pedro Pascal, he's got full coloration in his beard and hair, unlike me, and he doesn't look, you know, aged the way like you don't look at him and say in 9 years that guy's gonna look like Alec Guinness in A New Hope. And if Obi-Wan's whole life to that point he's aged to that much, why would all of a sudden in that short 9 years span would he just go from that to that? So I don't think Lucasfilm likes we're just not going to explain this and you're just going to have to deal with it sort of thing. So I think they're setting it up in a way where they're like, we want the familiarity of Obi-Wan from the prequels, so we want to keep him sort of looking close enough to that, and we want to push the envelope as much as that we can. And then maybe this encounter with Darth Vader's going to really put it on him, and he's going to like just Obi-Wan's going to have to do something to save people, and it's going to take like the Luke took Luke's lifespan away by what he did by force projecting himself. Obi-Wan's maybe going to have to push himself to some sort of limit, and it's going to really take damage on him, put damage on him, and age him or something. I could see them doing something like that. So I'm leaning towards yes, actually, even though that might be a little bit of a radical thought.
Lacey, what do you think?
I'm going to go with no. I think that not something specific is going to happen to age him. I think they're just going to explain it away at the end of the series that, you know, he does all the stuff that he needs to, looking the way he looks. And then in the last episode, there'll be a time jump, and then it will show him all aged, and then that's how the series will end.
Okay. I'm a little bit closer with Lacey on that I don't think they're going to do anything. And I think that when, you know, when you say 10 years, like, oh, or 9 years, you know, how did he get like this? Not that it's not that it isn't different, but like we're also looking at like how believable, you know, Alden Ehrenreich is as Harrison Ford. Are they going to explain why he doesn't look the same way? I'm like, I just don't think they do. I think they just play it as like, hey, here's how he looks. Obviously, there's real world circumstances here. This is Ewan McGregor. It's not Alec Guinness. I think people just look over that and be like, that's Obi-Wan. And then A New Hope is what it is. I don't think they necessarily have to explain it. I think if they really wanted to do it, they could even go as far as to be like, let's just put, I don't think they would, but I think I would allow it if they just put him and made him look stylistically like Alec Guinness, and even said this is like 5 days before A New Hope happens, but it's Ewan McGregor playing the character. I'd just be like, cool, I don't care, you know. I get it, and I get the real world aspect of it, but we're so far away in the actual story that I don't think they're really going to touch it. They'll probably have a line where he's like, "Oh man, the sun, really does a number on you."
I still think they're going to do CG Alec Guinness for the last frame or last shot.
They could, yeah. And or they hire that Morphe Me guy who spread that rumor about Sebastian Stan, and they just do like Alec Guinness's nose, Ewan McGregor's eyes, and you're like,
God.
"Oh, I see it. It's both."
Yeah, they're gonna be like, "Oh my God, they should get Ewan McGregor to play Obi-Wan."
Yeah, he'd be perfect. Look at him; he looks just like him.
Oh my.
All right, we're moving on to the next one here. Commander Lucas Hatch. And Lucas is new to the Resistance, so
Lucas!
Thank you very much for joining the Patreon here. Commander Lucas wanted to know, hey guys, do you think we will start to hear Grogu talk in season 3 or any future Star Wars media? So kind of a big or anything ever after that, but let's try to stick to season 3. Lacey, you're going first on this one. What do you think? Grogu speaking?
Yeah, I think totally he's going to speak in season 3. I think they need to sell more toys. And if you had a talking Grogu toy, it's going to sell. And then also you need to progress his story along, because we've now learned that he was at, the Jedi Temple and everything went terribly, and he knows more than he's let on, and he's more mature through talking to Ahsoka through their minds than we originally thought. He's having full conversations with her of the downfall of the Jedi Temple, and you're telling me he can't speak? He's going to talk in the next season.
That's crazy. Yeah, John, what do you think?
Yeah, Lacey's right about the merch aspect, but I can't bring myself to think that they make decisions for stories based on that, just for my own soul. But just from the story perspective, I feel like they need to, because it's gonna get a little tired. I hate to say that, and it's hard to believe that if Grogu is just bopping around eating frogs and cooing and stuff again, people are gonna be like, we waited 2.5 years for this again. So I think they may go shoot us right out of a cannon in the first chapter 19 or whatever it is, or 17, and say, hey, what are you doing back there? And Grogu just starts talking. We're like, oh man, all right, cool, Mando's back, and now this guy's talking. I like what's going on here. So I think without question, and the fact that Lucas is like, you know what, not George Lucas, Lucas Hatch, our patron, like you said, James, anytime in the future, because we've been speculating we may see him in movies with Rey down the line, which would be a smart decision. I think there's no question he's going to talk, and I would love it if it was as soon as they come back with The Mandalorian.
Yeah, I would think that'd be cool. You know what? I still think I'm going to go no on this. And you guys are very much in the right, because it's very hard to hear your arguments, because I'm like, that's right. Oh, that's right too. Dang. But I feel like my gut just has to stick with it. He's been alive 50 years. What's 51 going to make the difference? What's 52 going to make the difference? And it just, to me, feels like they have this. What about 450? Yeah, well, okay. I know definitely the down the line thing he eventually will, but we're trying to stick to season 3 here. I don't know. I still kind of have this gut feeling that he's not going to learn to speak overnight. And maybe like a word or something to kind of show that we're getting there. But I don't know. I can't see them moving this character that advancing that much that quickly, especially
that makes
when
sense.
we're already
to
pretty
me, it
well
felt
aware
like he was
that this
holding
person's
back.
life is over the course of 900 years. He's just still so much in that baby infancy. Mandalorian season 3 isn't going to take place 100 years from now. I have no clue when they start speaking. But can I ask you guys a secondary question? When it speaks, does it speak like Yoda?
No.
You think it just talks regular sentences and they just kind of squash that was a Yoda thing and not a species thing?
I think wherever Yoda's from, they have a completely different language that talks with their words. How Spanish has the verbs switched with nouns and opposite from English. I think whatever Yoda's language is, he learned English in the way you set up your sentences in his language. So I think whatever language that is different from basic. And that's why Yoda talks funny. That's my
Same, Lacey? Or do you think he talks like Yoda?
Yeah, I don't think he talks like Yoda. I've said that before about the Spanish thing. So, yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, and that makes sense to me that they would kind of be like, oh no, this is he learned how to speak from Din Djarin, or whatever.
Yeah,
Well, he would be learning to speak from Luke.
Or that too. Yeah. That's a good point. Maybe Luke is like, you're not talking. Yeah, that's a good point. Man, I'm probably wrong on this. All right, moving on to the next question.
I just think it felt to me, and I could be totally wrong, that he was holding back. Like he was so traumatized that he was holding back his force powers because he was so afraid. So we kind of talked about this a little bit, I think, during the Mando fan show. It kind of felt like he was acting up the baby stuff to survive.
You know what else is interesting too? Now that you brought up the Luke thing, it actually does make me think that would be a really good way to showcase how far he's come with Luke, because they can't necessarily show it being like how much I've learned or how much I've
sure.
now am a master or more closer to, what I know in the Force. That's kind of difficult. But if he comes into the room and he starts talking, you're like, oh, he's grown up now. Or he's done
Luke's
so
like,
much.
I didn't do any Force work, but I taught him how to talk.
Yeah, he knows his alphabet. So, man, you guys are probably right. All right. Will Hera, this is our next question. Will Hera and Kanan's son, Jacen Syndulla, factor into Star Wars stories in a significant way? As, of course, it's like as an impacted character, like, for a movie or a TV show or a feature show or something like that. So, John, I'm going to bounce
James,
back
you should answer this first.
Me? You want me to answer this? No.
Wait, you really like Rebels.
Yeah, but to me, I think Dave threw that in there. But I think a lot of people are thinking, oh, it's the son of Kanan. He's going to be this crazy Force user or something. And it's going to be this whole like Darth Vader. And then Luke was also,
sure,
and I'm like, that's not how Star Wars has always been set up, that Force sensitivity passes through lineage. It's weird that it has happened through Anakin, but Anakin was born of the Force and he's the chosen one. So that's kind of the anomaly. Everybody else in Star Wars, I think, is just like, you're just chosen randomly. It has nothing to do with lineage. So, I mean, and maybe somebody has another example, but I have always taken that that's not the case and it's just kind of random. But I would say that Jacen doesn't really have any big impact on any stories down the line. He might show up, but I don't think he's going to be like a major player in any way. So then I don't know who goes first. I guess Lacey, back to you.
John goes first.
Or John, yeah.
So you're telling me you have a hard time believing that a powerful Force user and an ace pilot's kid can't become a powerful Force user? Ben Solo.
Is that Ben Solo? Yeah, but that's lineage of Anakin. So
no, I know. I don't know. I know Dave Filoni said, or someone said Lucasfilm had alluded to the fact that they would like to use him in the future, and I don't know if that's in a big way or not. And I think the only thing they've done is mention him. They mention him in Alphabet Squadron, right? He is not featured.
Correct, because Hera says, like, when all this is done, like, I'm not being a very good mom.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Who would train him? Kanan's dead. It's tough. I'm going to lean towards no, actually, on this. Though it would be cool, because I always do this thing where I'm like, how old is blank when? He was born pretty much at 0 as far as the Battle of Yavin. So he would be around... like 30, 35 around the time of the sequel trilogy, which means if they do stuff after, he'd be in his 40s. Like, it would be interesting. They start putting all these kids together to, like, join Rey. And, like, you get a lot of fans behind that. You have Jacen Syndulla, Ezra. Like, imagine Jacen Syndulla and Ezra together. Grogu, Rey. And you just do, like, this weird, like, sort of Avengers thing where you get all these people who are, generations of popular Star Wars characters. I think that'd be interesting. But I guess for his example, I'm going to lean towards no too.
Lacey, do you think that they'll bring that character back in any significant way?
I'm going to say yes. I think it's an easy character that has some legacy to it, and then ties everything back to Rebels, so that it's a way to tie things together without making it like super tied. You know, like he could come through whatever the series or movie is without calling back to things that happen in Rebels, but you'd still be like, okay, where did this character come from? And then dive into Rebels. I think it's an easy way to have some continuity. I was just thinking though, you know, we've had some rumors of who's playing Ezra. It would be interesting that if Taylor Gray doesn't get Ezra, which I hope is not the case because I really want him to play it, if he got the role of Jacen Syndulla, it might be interesting. Of course, I want him to be Ezra, but I'm saying if he doesn't get that role, this is another possible role for him.
I feel like that would piss a lot of fans off.
Him getting Jacen Syndulla?
Like, you hired him, but you hired him for the wrong character.
Yeah, now I hear Ezra's voice in Kanan's son. Like,
yeah, I guess I'm saying it as it's better than nothing.
I know. I wonder if Taylor would be like, hell no.
Then... Like, you know, you look at the other scenario, you could have Ahsoka where Ashley's not involved at all. You know, I think Ashley would take any part over no part.
Yeah, that's like, it's like, I don't know, like offering Leonardo DiCaprio like Mercutio in Romeo and Juliet or something. He's like, I already played Leo, or I already played Romeo. Sure. Like, well, I don't know why you would do that. But in
animated, though, you have to also make that separation that it is animated.
Yeah.
Imagine they won't do this, but imagine the Ahsoka series does like a How I Met Your Mother thing, and like for whatever reason they had Bob Saget's voice be Josh Radnor, and then he's like at the last episode it's just Josh Radnor talking to his kids, and like they had Ashley Eckstein doing like narration, and Rosario Dawson plays Ahsoka in the present. So Ashley's just like, and then I went to the Jedi Temple looking for blank. And then it's just her doing the voice. And then she's like, it's a compromise. They won't do it, but that'd be funny.
One other thing that I was thinking about Jacen Syndulla too is that that character would have like weird, crazy daddy issues considering he's growing up never knowing his dad. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if that would...
Star Wars never does that.
I know, but like usually there's some sort of like confronting connection with that or whatever. I don't know. I mean, I guess they could just tell stories, and he would always have to kind of like think of his father in this like legendary way. But I don't know. He could be like an interesting character, but
he goes into the woods like every weekend, like trying to find a wolf and being like, "Are you my dad? Are you my dad?" And the wolf just like licks themselves and walks away.
It's weird that you bring up like Taylor though, because I feel like Ezra is the son of Kanan story kind of thing because of the found family aspect of it. And then Jason's just kind of like there, like he's his actual son. But I don't know if I want to hear more of like dealing with the death of my father, I would rather hear it from Ezra's point of view and not Jason's. I don't know.
Oh, because anyway, Ezra
kid.
Was there. Yeah.
It feels
maybe
like
that's the future
Kanan
story.
Was more of Ezra's dad than Ezra's dad.
Jacen turns to the dark side out of jealousy that Kanan loved Ezra more. Ooh. And it's Ezra versus Jacen.
Jacen is like the bad guy in like the Ezra spinoff show or whatever. That could be cool.
That would be so
guys,
sad.
we got a discussion to get to. That has been a great episode or segment of Will the Force. If you guys want to put your answers in the comments of our YouTube video or tweet us or whatever, we'd like to hear what you guys think on a lot of those, because there were some pretty good questions in there, especially the ones from our resistance officers. But hey, John, we're going to get to the discussion. What do we got this week?
Obi-Wan once thought as you do.
Yeah, so not really sure where we're going to go with this. I know I'm not sure, but how the Book of Boba Fett will impact the Mandalorian Season 3. So the Book of Boba Fett is in the can, coming out this Christmas, this December, being referred to by sources out of Lucasfilm, reportedly calling it the Mandalorian Season 2.5. So is this just based on story timeframes? Like, is it literally because the story's taking place between Mandalorian season 2 and 3, or is it going to be more closely tied? Is it something more? So we know it's at least going to debut at least a year before Mandalorian season 3, based on that information we talked about Monday about the filming of Mandalorian season 3. But really, more importantly, what impact will it have on the third season of Mando from a story perspective? I really have nothing to kick off with here. I'm not sure, because the only thing we really know is that there are some characters from Mandalorian that they're saying are going to appear in the Book of Boba Fett. People have been speculating that the Mandalorian will. I don't know that he will. I don't know that he should. I feel like they should kind of isolate this a little bit and maybe bring in like a Cobb Vanth because of the armor thing, and that could be revisited a little bit. But this is why I'm really just opening this up to you guys immediately, because I really have no idea what impact it will have, but I know it probably will have some sort of taking the trajectory and twisting it this way based on something, because they wouldn't say it's the Mandalorian 2.5 if it's not going to have any impact on Mandalorian 3. So, James, I don't know, what do you think on that? Am I crazy thinking, or do you think they just said it because it's taking place in between the two things and that's it?
Well, I mean, that's my first thought, is that I think you nailed it right there with the 2.5, is that it takes place between 2 and 3. And I think that kind of is suspect to begin with, just simply because where we end season 2 and then see that teaser for Book of Boba Fett, it's very well presumed that after we did what we did on that freighter or whatever, we all separated, went different ways, and Boba Fett went back and took his throne. You know, it's like almost just immediate. It just seems like it just took place like right after. So now the Book of Boba Fett is coming. We're starting there. And when we pick up, you would have to imagine that Mandalorian season 3 probably has Boba Fett in it again, but after the events of what we saw in his little side adventure, you know, or his mainline story timeline thing. I think it's also interesting too that it's being referred to as a kind of a side project to Mandalorian, just simply because it's the first project beyond the Mandalorian in the new Favreau-Filoni universe. There's Disney Plus shows, there's the Star Wars canon, but this is also like, hey, it's not Mandalorian season 3, but come on, it's like the next logical story in in all of these shows that they're putting together. I wouldn't be surprised if they refer to Ahsoka as 3.5 or something like that, because it's just like it's that next offshoot of. It's a better way to say that might be like they're treating Mandalorian like it's the main line, and all of these other ones are like sub upgrades and branches off of the main timeline. So I mean, maybe that's a way to, instead of it, like 2A maybe would be better instead of 2.5, but everybody kind of understands 2.5 is like not quite 3, but you know, so it takes place between 2 and 3, which is the back to the time, the actual timeline thing that you're talking about there.
Well, Lacey, like, what do you think? Because, like, for example, you have, Clone Wars was 7 seasons taking place in the 3-year gap between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith, and I know animated's different and that sort of stuff, but do you see Boba Fett being more of like this, we're taking Boba Fett and he's going to go do his thing, or do you feel because of that labeling there, does that change your mind to think that this is, whatever happens in this series is going to impact the story of Mandalorian? Like, where do you sit with this thing?
I think it's a combination of the two. I think by saying it's 2.5, you're saying that the story led here because of the Mandalorian season 1 and 2. And the choices that Boba Fett makes then determine what happened in the Mandalorian season 3. And that might have not always been the case, but I could see it being like, hey, if we make some changes here, how does it affect it over here? And I hate to be that person, but it's a very obvious thing. With Marvel, all their storylines link together. And yes, what Winter Soldier and Falcon do over here doesn't directly impact Wanda over here, but there are moments here and there that then lead to the next story or the next movie or the next project. That then if you were to watch them all together, you get that cohesive narrative but it's not something that if you only watched this, you couldn't enjoy it on its own. So that's why I think it's a 2.5. It's like, yes, it led from The Mandalorian. Yes, decisions that Boba Fett makes here are going to impact The Mandalorian, but I think you can enjoy this as its own thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's weird too. I want to jump in there too, because that's a good example with the Falcon and Winter Soldier thing, in the sense that, like, if I knew there was going to be a Falcon and Winter Soldier season 2, but also we were going to get another show called The Falcon, or better yet, Winter Soldier on its own, I'd probably refer to that as one, Falcon and Winter Soldier 1.5 or something. It's kind of what the Winter Soldier was doing in between the first and second season of Falcon and Winter Soldier. Like, so that makes sense to me when you put it in that context. And I feel like that's what we're all gathering here, is that Book of Boba Fett just plays between 2 and 3, and it's kind of in the same world-ish, even though it's clearly in the same world. It's very in the same world, in the same bubble.
Wouldn't it be interesting and add a dimension, so to speak, in how we receive or go on the journey of Mandalorian Season 3 if the ramifications of things that Boba Fett does, now being in charge of whatever Hutt's crime syndicate is called now, like seeing, like, kind of like Back to the Future, like the fallout from Biff taking over in the alternate timeline. What did that do? The chain reaction of what that did to that time, like what Boba Fett taking this over now, it would be interesting to see that play out, and then see aspects of the environment around the Mandalorian and how stuff Boba Fett did impacted those things, even perhaps subtly, whether it's like the environment around them, certain characters who may have to have relocated. Like we said, a Cobb Vanth situation. Maybe Boba Fett's not over the fact that he took his armor, and maybe he goes back and they have some sort of showdown back at that street at the OK Corral, and Mandalorian goes back to revisit Cobb Vanth and finds out he was killed by Boba Fett. Like, how deep are they going to go with it? I would like to see them do that sort of thing where it doesn't dictate the story of Din Djarin, but we see how the Mandalorian tells its story, like, and this chapter he's doing this chapter he's doing this. It would be interesting if his environment, his experience is impacted by things Boba Fett does in the Book of Boba Fett, which would elevate the impact of Boba Fett on the story.
I think that the Book of Boba Fett could be more of an explanation or exploration of who Boba Fett is, because we haven't gotten that in canon. We've only really gotten, like, in live action what he's done in the original trilogy, and then what we then got as the redemption type arc with Mandalorian. So I think the Book of Boba Fett could be more of like, okay, he's now gotten his revenge on Jabba without Jabba being there, obviously. So what's next for him? And I think there is this kind of interesting exploration of what it means to be a Mandalorian, because I think he's kind of been on his own like the Mandalorian, but in a different way now. So, like, he's kind of the bad guy, whereas the Mandalorian went from being this guy that was kind of morally ambiguous to now he's the good guy. He has a kid, potentially. He cares about people. But we get this moment in season 2 of The Mandalorian where he's confronted with Bo-Katan and what's her name, Casca Reeves, and there's a lot of tension there. And the season ends off with Bo-Katan unsure of what to do with Darksaber and what it means for Mandalore and all these things. And the tension is still there between her and Boba Fett. So I could see that getting explored here, off screen from the Mandalorian, so that when we see Din Djarin again, maybe Boba Fett has sided with Bo-Katan and they're kind of trying to figure out how to get the Darksaber back, because ultimately he doesn't want it, but they have to figure out how to get it back. And they have to figure out what the next step is for Mandalore and Mandalorians.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's I guess that is the question, like, how heavy they're going to explore Mandalorian culture and Mandalore in the Mandalorian then. If that's what you're saying, like if Boba Fett's going to take that path. Because
I think the Mandalorian has become, he's more than that. he's known as the Mandalorian, but he's become more of that. He'll take his helmet off. He's learned to care about others and go outside what he's supposed to be doing.
Don't you get the feeling, and this could change maybe with the Mandalorian, James, I don't know what you think, but Din Djarin to me feels like the reluctant, like, I don't want it, like the Jon Snow in Game of Thrones, like, yeah,
or Spider-Man at first, yeah.
And I'm supposed to be the ruler, but I don't want it, sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny because I think, like, John, you're saying, like, the ramifications of what Boba Fett's choices are and how that affects the Mandalorian, and like, even Lacey's kind of saying, like, this lineage of Mandalore and how they could bring in, like, Bo-Katan and stuff. I'm like, I don't know, guys. I think you might just be overthinking it a little bit. I have a feeling that, like...
Well, that's the point, James, is you're supposed to speculate on what could happen.
I understand. My thing, though, is I think what is going to happen is they're like, hey, they've set up in season 2 that, like, there's a really good guy, and that's the Mandalorian. And sometimes he works together with some really crappy people, like that bounty hunter, Boba Fett. Yeah. He's kind of a scummy dude. But anyway, they're gonna meet. They're done. It's Tuesday, but they finished their work. They're gonna meet back here Wednesday morning. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a sidestep and shows you what kind of a crummy person does Tuesday night. Yeah. So he goes out, or better yet, like, I should say Friday night. We'll meet back on Monday morning or something. What does Boba Fett do over the weekend? It's like, it doesn't have any impact on him showing up for work Monday morning. I just think he's going to go out and he's going to be involved with, scandalous people, and he's not going to have any problem, like, killing them. He's not going to have any problem, like, making his way to the top. His goal is going to be, how to better himself, his throne, his rule, I think. And then at the end of the day, when the Mandalorian says, I need you for a job, he's like, that's right, I'm back, and then they're going to team up again. And it's just a side story. I think it's interesting you say that they might be multiple seasons, but I think they're kind of just treating it, I would imagine they would treat it like, hey, we're Disney Plus, and we don't have to make it shows if we don't want. Let's do 4 episodes of exploring a character just cause it's fun. Let's call it the Book of Boba Fett. Not saying it's going to be 4 episodes, but I'm saying, they could do that. They could just make a couple episodes of a specific character, spin it off for just a second, go see what that person does on the weekends, like I'm saying, and then just, it doesn't really have any long-term ramifications of, like, well, you have to be watching this other show. It's more like, hey, if you're down, like, we've got this other thing that is this really cool spotlight on a character when they're not in the main line kind of thing. And I think that
it absolutely is going to impact the other series. I don't think you can have
because of continuity.
Yeah.
It will because of continuity, but I don't
think they're making this just to make it. I think they're making it because there's a story there that they needed to explain leading into the next season of Mandalorian.
See, and that's where I differ. I think they just want to sidestep and have some fun with Boba Fett because he's an awesome character, and they want to just do some really cool stuff that, in my opinion, doesn't matter. Like, they could blow up a planet and we'll never hear that planet again, but it was awesome because we watched the show and we saw it blow a planet. You're speculating, I think, a little bit more that, like, when we see that planet explode, that will be important to Mandalorian because now they can't go because Boba Fett blew up the planet, and it's like it's an issue now and they have to work around it or whatever. Like, I don't know. I tend to think that Boba Fett is just a fun time.
So you really think it's just an offshoot thing, like
yeah. I mean, it's not Boba Fett. It's the Book of Boba Fett, and that to me is just like, it's a diary. It's a sidestep. It's what Boba Fett does in his time, in his free time.
Yeah, but don't forget that there. And I don't know that I could see Boba Fett becoming this crime boss, and then, like, just being like, all right, I'm gonna go back and be these guys' chauffeur again. Like, I can't.
This leads up to a crossover event too.
Yeah, and I just can't see that level of elevation. That's like becoming, a headliner band and you're selling out stadiums, and then being like, all right, we're gonna open for this person in this coffee shop now, and like, he's ascending, and Boba Fett is finally having his time to take that, to pull that down from him, or like they do in wrestling, like when someone has heat, you don't take someone who has heat and then just like throw cold water on them. So I have a hard time seeing them pull him back down to where he was and saying like, all right, now I'm going to go hang out with Mandalorian again. I can't. I have a hard time buying that. And there also has to be an end game for Boba Fett too, in terms of like, he's not just going to be like, all right, that was Boba Fett's story. So whatever happened to Boba Fett? I think we're going to see Boba Fett die not necessarily in the book of Boba Fett, but we're going to see his death because we really need a finality in that character. And what better way than in this Western style Robert Rodriguez sort of thing than for him to go out like guns blazing instead of crying and falling into a man-eating plant.
Can I
the hell the Sarlacc
maybe
is.
propose this too, that we don't see
you
Boba Fett
can propose
back.
anything, James. This is a safe space.
We don't see Boba Fett in The Mandalorian again until that crossover, in the same way that maybe Ahsoka isn't in The Mandalorian again until the crossover. Maybe
I agree with that.
Maybe we do. We sidestep and we go, this is Boba Fett and he's in the underground. He's controlling it. Season 1, that was great. He's a scummy dude. This is awesome. Season 2, still a scummy dude, whatever. And then when they get to the crossover, they're like, hey, we need you for this reason, this mission. We're pulling you in. We've worked with you before. Sidestep everything you're doing. You can go back to it, but we here's why we need you. And it's cool because a lot of fans have been watching season 1, season 2, season 3 of Book of Boba Fett or whatever. And then when he comes back in, you're like, oh shoot, yeah, we saw him meet up in season 1. Now they're meeting back up in season 5 or whatever. Yeah.
Sounds like Fast and the Furious to me.
I mean, that's
what I thought of when you brought it, that like someone they've worked with or raced or whatever, and then they bring them back. Yeah.
Hey man, it's family.
It works.
Imagine the first episode of Mandalorian season 3. Not only is Grogu talking, but Mandalorian, like they run into Boba Fett, and Mandalorian's like, I heard what you did in Navarro. You killed Cara Dune. Boba Fett just responsible for killing Cara Dune off.
Yeah, he said he pushed her. Whatever. Yeah.
The fall killed her.
No, yes. So because that got brought up. You know who'd be awesome for Book of Boba Fett? Vin Diesel.
I love Vin Diesel. I would take him in any project.
I know, but I think he would fit in really
Cross
well.
Over fully. Just put Groot in. Just do him. Yeah, we'll just do Groot in Book of Boba Fett.
That actually would be hilarious if they did bring Groot over, because he technically is an alien.
Yeah,
so.
Groot just like plays an actual tree outside of Boba Fett's like house.
No, but seriously though, I think Vin Diesel would fit most perfectly.
Fucking tree, who cares?
In Book of Boba Fett, I would think that'd be cool.
Yeah,
but
I'm for that.
I don't know.
Do you think Groot was one of the walking trees in Lord of the Rings?
John,
remember at the beginning of the episode where you kept saying like, "Oh, is this the theme now? Are you going to keep bringing this up?"
What?
I will ask you this, John, because it looked like maybe I was convincing you there. Are you down for it being a sidestep project altogether if he's going to be consistently doing his thing for multiple seasons and not reappearing and coming back every Monday morning in Mandalorian?
I think it would get really stale if Boba Fett had too much content, like too many seasons. Mm-hmm. Because the whole mystery of Boba Fett from the very beginning was it was the action figure first. The kids got their action figure, then he came out in Empire. So the kids had like all these ideas of who Boba Fett was in their head, and then they see him in Empire Strikes Back. So if they overdo it with Boba Fett, I think the shine kind of comes off the apple a little bit, and the mystique and the allure and that sort of thing is kind of gone. So I think I would like to think that they are going to honor that aspect of it and keep it, kind of short. I don't think there's going to be a lot of episodes or anything like that, this Book of Boba Fett thing, and I hope they don't do too many seasons of it, because I think using him no, I don't say sparingly, but using him in a smart doses is for me anyway, in my opinion, the best way to keep utilizing Boba Fett, so people are still interested and intrigued by him. Like, I don't want to find out like where he went to high school and I don't need the whole story of Boba Fett. I know we got kid Boba Fett in the prequels, but I like the mysterious element of him. I don't want to know everything about the guy.
Mm-hmm. So, Lacey, where are you at, like, as far as Mandalorian maybe showing up in Book of Boba Fett?
I think he's going to show up at the end. Or they're going to say something like, we need to go see the Mandalorian or something. You know what I mean? Some off comment that then leads it perfectly into the next series.
Which would be Mandalorian Season 3.
Book of Boba Fett ends with Boba Fett doing the lean over in the rocket, and it just blows up Cara Dune's house. That's the end of Book of Boba Fett.
You're obsessed with Cara Dune being killed off.
I think that would be funny if they're just like, that's it. It's done.
That's crazy. I don't know. What else you got, John? Where are we? Anything else that you think this could go?
Well, not necessarily. Like I said, I came into this and I'm sort of feeding off your guys' ideas, and it's making me think of things. But like, are we going to see like they said characters from the Mandalorian are going to show up? I believe. So does that mean Grief Karga, or does that mean like Pelimato, or because I'm thinking Tatooine, because
it's on Tatooine.
So yeah, so are we going to see Cobb Vanth? That would make a lot of sense, I think, because they do have that sort of tension because he had his armor. That would make a lot of sense to see Timothy Olyphant come back, do some stuff, and maybe still get entangled with Boba Fett a little bit. Are there going to be more crime stuff? They've been trying to wedge Bossk in everywhere. He was supposed to be in Solo. They wanted him in other things, I believe, and they already did some new modern test runs with Trandoshans in Mandalorian Season 1 that look pretty cool. Do we see like other bounty hunters that he kind of crossed paths with from the original trilogy, in addition to Bossk, like Zuckuss and people like that? Are we going to see who's the guy who apparently Dengar, who shows up in like The Rise of Skywalker all messed up? Like, what if Boba Fett's the one who messes him up? Like, that'd be kind of cool. So I would like to see maybe that sort of stuff. And maybe that is more of like what you're saying, which is kind of like take out your action figures and play with them, and then we can put them back in the case and put them away, which I would be fine with. I just think maybe there's a healthy balance where you don't do too much of impact on the Mandalorian, but like I said, maybe certain things he does, butterfly effects, things that happen in events after, because it's still the same galaxy. And even though it's a galaxy, Star Wars is a tight little ball. So
yeah,
I think a happy medium would be the way to go.
Almost like that whole you wouldn't, like, something happens in Mandalorian whatever season and they're like, oh, well, that's a callback to Book of Boba Fett. If you were watching that, you'd see this or whatever. I mean, I don't still think that's impossible. If you just to have Boba Fett come back on that big crossover event and see how those things all come together. I mean, that's I think the Avengers style is like, you're like, okay, well, you don't have to watch all these things, but it's better when you do watch all of them because you'll miss all the little nuggets and references and things to things they've done in the past. But I don't know.
Like Boba Fett blows up Weequay's bar at Cobb Vanth's buddy. And then, I'm serious. And then Mandalorian goes to see him, and he drives through the town, and we see that bar is obliterated. That'd be an interesting connection. It adds a level of realism to the storytelling. Like, oh wow, that happened, and I know when that happened. They don't even have to talk about it; they just show it. I think that stuff's cool.
It's weird that we're talking. We mentioned this last week that we kind of think Boba Fett is more likely to be a bad guy than a good guy. But if he was a good guy, it would be interesting to see him take the throne back and like fix the place up because Jabba always sucked. That would make more sense to me that he runs in with Cobb Vanth. The two of them work together to like Hobbs and Shaw and kind of clean up the area or something. But
I think he's more likely to be someone that's like Punisher style, out for revenge. Everyone's wronged him. He's gonna right some wrongs.
I agree with that.
How he just greased Bib Fortuna and then just dumps his body off the chair. Like,
yeah,
I love that every suggestion John's making is someone dies.
If they make him an anti-hero, then they're just they're missing his character or what makes him cool in the first place. So,
and
but the other
Right, I
thing
mean,
you brought
look
up,
at-
hero.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say the other thing you brought up about Cobb Vanth, that sounds very similar to what Mando went through, like the clash at the beginning, and then like, what are you gonna have them be friends at the end? Like, we got that story that happened.
Well, not even that. It's like I just keep going back to the source material, and for me, with the whole Boba Fett thing in the Gallery series, Robert Rodriguez was talking about how badass he was and how he wanted to show how ruthless and cruel and like he just took out all these guys, and like he could have just shot them, but he didn't. He like backhanded them, crushed their helmets, threw rocks on them and stuff. Like he could have done all these different things, blown them up. To me, that says that his character is grounded in this like ruthlessness that you can't then see how it kicked off with him killing Bib Fortuna and taking his throne, that he's not going to do that. Because if you remember,
that's the
Fennec
teaser
Shand
for a
lets
reason.
the woman go, not Boba Fett. She lets the woman go. So it's one thing if you saw him come in and let her go, but he didn't. He just came in and kind of took over. So I think for me, at least, I'm really wanting a ruthless Boba Fett that comes in and just destroys stuff and takes over and is doing the wrong things and kind of throws people off. Not Fennec Shand, because she understands. She comes from that kind of background of like doing terrible things. But like if he does meet up with a Bo-Katan or a Mandalorian at some point in the series, they're going, whoa, this is not the person I thought I knew. But how much did you really know?
Yeah. Yeah, that'll be interesting. And who knows, maybe even Fennec Shand like betrays Boba Fett or something.
Maybe.
We don't know. Mm-hmm. There's a lot that can happen, and it's cool that we don't know.
And she does the life debt thing to him, so
Yeah.
You think she cares about that? She's like, thanks for my new stomach.
she obviously does care about it because she's doing it, right?
The only thing is because we know life debts are important with Chewbacca and that people take them seriously.
Yeah, I feel like
Wookiees.
life debt should be a little bit more like 1 year.
Jar Jar Binks, you know.
You know what I mean? Like, hey, thanks for saving my life. How about I not commit the rest of my life to whatever it is
It's like a
you
warranty.
see your life as? Yeah.
Expires after 2 years.
I really appreciate what you did for me. I will help you out for the next year. Anything you need.
I'll do your
but
laundry
come on,
for a
let's
month.
be serious. You might as well have just killed me because
Yeah.
I don't live a life anymore. I'm a slave to you. So this is kind of weird, but
Also, the other thing, do you want that person following you around for the rest of your life? That would drive me bananas.
Right. Oh, well,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. All right. Well, I think that was good. That was fun. Good stuff. We'll see what happens. We'll see if we're even on the mark at all. It's sometimes like when we do the speculation stuff, nice to revisit it. So we're about
do you wanna-
6 months out. So
do you want to throw out how many episodes you think it'll be? Book of Boba Fett season 1? I'm going to say 6, even though 8 obviously is the precedent, but Obi-Wan's only 8 or 6, so.
I'm gonna say
Long
4.
silence. You think 4? Huh? All right. Lacey, what do you think?
I'm going to go 8.
8?
All right.
All right. So we got a good thing. No
answers
Price is
are
Right
locked in.
rules here.
One episode, Bob. All right, because they bid $1. All right, tough crowd today. All right, so that takes us to the next segment here, which we're gonna hand over to Danger over there.
Guys, it's time for Is the Force with you?
The Force will be with you, always.
So, Is the Force with you is our segment where we pitch a hypothetical situation and decide whether we buy or sell the idea by saying whether the Force is with us or not. I will read the scenario and we will each answer whether the Force is with us or not and briefly explain why. So the scenario is Din Djarin, aka Mando, will die in The Mandalorian. Is the Force with you, John?
Yes, the Force is with me. I had a tough time answering this, but feel like a lot of times in these Western stories, there's a lot of martyrism going on and a lot of dying for the cause and sacrificing yourself. You're the lone gunman who finds your way and does something right for somebody you finally care about, and they usually don't make it out. But the people they did it for go on to thrive. So because of that and Favreau's sort of respect for that sort of style of storytelling, I think he's going to make that tough choice, and it's going to add weight to the story. Kind of like Logan, sort of like for a recent example by Mangold. But yeah, so I it's going to be tough, but I think he will, and it'll make it for an even more impactful story. So the Force is with me.
James?
Filoni has a hard time killing a character that he helped create, or is involved with. And usually his characters end up showing up in multiple things. So, and Pedro Pascal is pretty young too. So, if by not killing him, they have the opportunity to bring it back in a much later era, they can play with his character and see how far he's come and grown and stuff. But for two reasons, I'm going to go with they are going to kill him. The first one being is they have a character that's going to progress into future series, and that's Grogu. That already is the connection to the Mandalorian. So every time you see him, you'll remember the tragedy of Djarin. The second thing is that I said Filoni likes to do that with his characters, but this mostly is a Favreau character, and I don't think Favreau has any problem killing off characters for the story that is the story. He's the Western guy. Favreau would more likely be like, I'm killing him. He's a gunner. Lights out, McClunky, right?
Yeah, I agree with you guys. The Force is with me that Din Djarin will die in The Mandalorian. I think it adds weight to the story in a way that's super impactful because he went through all these changes and he made friends along the way and took care of a child. And it kind of doing the thing that Harrison Ford wanted for Han Solo in, Empire Strikes Back or Return of the Jedi, which is like that sacrifice for the greater good. So that would be really cool for the character. And like you guys said, I think Favreau has no problem killing someone. I think for all we know, he already decided that going into this series. Like that was where he knew it was ending. It was just, how am I getting there? So yeah, I think he will die. I don't know why I said this so happily. So yeah.
Favreau actually went up to Daisy Ridley and whispered what's going to happen, and then she cried.
Yeah, she cried.
That's big. That is
all
big.
Right. So now we're going to head to John to finish the show.
All right. So yeah, let us know what you think. Is the Force with you? We did a poll. Actually, we should have brought that up. Sorry. We did a poll. We polled everybody on this thing. Let's see what the results were. I think they did not agree with us.
I think it's because people don't want him to die.
Right. So yeah, we polled you out there on Twitter with this question, and I am speaking slowly so I can find it. There it is. 38% said the Force is with them, which means 62% said no, the Force is not with them. They do not want him. They don't think he'll die. So they disagree with the TRB3, but we have the microphones. So there you go.
But they have the real power.
They have the real power.
Every vote counts.
Yeah. All right, cool. All right. So thanks to everyone for listening and watching, being a part of TRB. We really appreciate it. We do have to say a special thank you to our Patreon generals and our Spice Runners. First off, our Spice Runners, our new tier, a lot of cool stuff that's going to be coming for you guys. So thank you to David Probus, Neil Shaw, Double C Chris, Kendall Gellner, Ryan Wara, and Dave Hornack, aka Indie Dave. Thank you so much. And our Patreon generals holding down the base in the war room. Love you guys. Carmelo, Andrew Staley, Jeremy Myers, John Reese, Micah Harrison, Jetta Rosewater, Michael Gaines, Paul Olson, Jake Houchins, Jeff Connery, Oliver Lewis, Frank Grande, Hass Islam, Joe Ritchie, Darth Hurricane, Timothy Hill, John Charlton, Nick Kratz, Christian Morales, and Val Trichkoff. Whew. One breath. Thank you all so much for all of your support, and everyone on our Patreon. We really can't do it without you, and we are so excited for the future. And like we said in our State of Star Wars episode, 2022 should be just like this launching pad for the next era in Star Wars. And we're so glad that you're giving us an opportunity to do some big things. And we're very excited to get back out in the real world, right, guys? And go to events and do cool things next year, which includes Celebration. So in addition to subscribing to the show, make sure you're going to StarWarsNewsNet.com for all of your Star Wars news, reviews, editorials, information, and more. You can find me on Twitter at Johnny Hoey and writing and editing over at StarWarsNewsNet.com. And I have a movie podcast called Just Like the Movies, where me and my best friend talk about old movies that we watched growing up. We just did Predator, and we have Goodfellas coming up. Lacey, how about you? Where can people hit you up?
People can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Lacey Gillerin.
James.
So let me make up a fake domain. No, it's going to be at Myra Trunks, Twitter and Instagram. And on the Bad Batch show tomorrow. Bad Batch reaction show tomorrow morning.
Yes. How many? What episode do we have with that thing now? I got to catch up. I'm a couple behind. I'm not gonna lie.
This has got to be 7 tomorrow.
Whew, that thing's cooking. All right. Yeah. Stay tuned for that for James. And we'll also have a written review on StarWarsNewsNet.com too. But we hope you enjoy your weekend. We're kicking off summer here, so we hope things are going well for you. Enjoy your weekends, and we'll see you Monday morning with another episode right here on the Resistance Broadcast. We'll see you around, kids.